if you're not a Madrid fan, you probably are going to be enjoying this. But if you're, and in some sense, but obviously there's this whole thing that Vinicius Junior is just this huge distraction to the team, and it's just ever since the Mbappe edition, in my opinion, it's just been more and more about how this isn't going to work. Vinny's not happy. Obviously, rumors circulated that Vinicius Junior has interest from a team in Saudi Arabia. Shocking, a team from Saudi Arabia is prepared to give money to a top quality player, and
Yeah.
then people were just feeding into that rumor that, oh my God, Vinny's going to go there because he wants money. Okay, I mean, I guess. I mean, all right.
How do
Uh,
you feel about that though? And when I ask how you feel about that is like, do you think realistically there's a chance Real Madrid? Because in my mind, there's a very clear player who probably will exit. In my opinion, I'm not gonna say who I think it is yet, but there's a very clear player for me that has a path out. I don't think it's Vinny, but I had this debate on another show earlier today, actually.
any chance
Uh,
that player's my adopted son?
Yes. Yes. I for me, I think Rodrigo is the one who will depart. I think it's not going to be this season. I don't think it's going to be in January or anything. I think it'll be after this season. He just feels like the one who's not going to let ego play into this. I think Jude, Vinny, and Mbappe all have egos that need to be fed. And I think that there's just going to be an odd man out. And it smells like Rodrigo. But I could be wrong. Do you think it's going to be Vinny? Why or why not?
The thing is for me is I don't necessarily think like once again, I think all these rumors that are coming out that are being fabricated on that like nobody's happy in Real Madrid. And I think I think the factor that you also throw in, Bobby Charlton himself, Endrick. Um I love that guy.
Bro. Bobby.
He's just material on material.
Bro.
Um, Not adopting him though. Um, when he said Bobby, I was like, ugh,
Yeah, that's like,
not my son. I was like, I don't even think you existed.
no. I was like, this dude only
I don't even think I exist.
he was watching highlights and was asking his dad, why is the screen black and white? Like, there's no way. There's no way. Anyway, go ahead.
What's wrong with this projector?
What's wrong with this projector, bro?
Why is it flicking?
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. Exactly.
but I think there's like these rumors are just being fabricated. I mean, the Champions League victory alone from Stuttgart of Endrick, who decides to take this sh- one. Yes, it was a goal, amazing goal. I think it took everybody surprised, including the defenders and the goalkeeper, because that was not necessarily the fastest ball I've ever seen when he shot it. But
No, it was a keeper error, I thought. But yeah.
yeah,
Goal's a
but
goal, though. Goal's a goal.
goal's a goal. No matter how accidental it was or it wasn't. But the funny image is just it's Endrick, Mbappe, and Vinny just running, right? They're making the run. Mbappe and Vinny are open. It's like any of these two guys could get the ball from Endrick, and Endrick's like shoots it a little too early than expected, which obviously threw off the goalkeeper and defenders. And it goes in the back of net. He scores his first Champions League goal in his 16-year-old career, or seven. I don't know how old this guy is. I think you know what? I'm just gonna make this a trend. I'm just gonna make him younger every time. Uh,
Fair, fair, fair.
but he scores his goal, and everybody's like, "Look at Mbappe. He didn't even go celebrate. He look at the face he made." And I think the face he made was a face that even I would have made, which is, "What the? Hold up. Okay." Which
I
is
mean,
literally
to be honest, bro, like, honestly, that situation worked out as well as it could have for Endrick. Like, it
yeah.
really could. Because in my mind, when I saw all three of them running and just basically stampeding towards the goal, and this is kind of what Madrid fans wanted, right? Three insane finishers and speedsters all working together to get up there. But then, Endrick takes the shot early. He was very lucky it went in. I think if that doesn't go in, it may not happen publicly, but guys like Mbappe and Vini and Jude and they're going to hold you accountable. Like, in the locker room, they're going to kill that young man's confidence, I believe. And since he scored, like it's you just avoid that whole scenario that could become toxic, right? And that's just one little example. I think Endrick is probably going to end up going out on loan. That's just kind of my theory. I think he's too young. I think there's so much star power on Real Madrid that like it's in his best interest to keep developing, just on loan, just try and go play somewhere. And I'm sure you can add value to another team. And, be the guy. If you want to be the guy somewhere, I can tell you right now, at 16, 17 years old, you are not going to be him at Real Madrid. So, there's probably something there, but yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, going back to Vinny, how do I put this? I'm trying to think of a way that I can put his antics because, like, I think he's not the first shithousery player we've ever seen, right? If you watch the
No.
Prem, we all know Jamie Vardy's a shithousery player. We all like there's these guys exist, right? Their antics are what make them cult heroes. Dibu Martinez, perfect example, like a cult hero for Argentina, but so many fans hate him around the world. Antics are one thing, right? I do though. I feel like I can see where the distraction, topic of conversation comes into play from their perspective as a Real Madrid fan. At your perspective, Hector, just it feels like it's too easy right now with him becoming this icon for say no to racism, which I think is awesome. By the way, he needs to continue going down that path, but he needs to go down that path in a way that doesn't pull away from the efforts of his team. Because at the end of the day, right, when I say go down that path in that manner, I mean the team is first and foremost always. Like I get that racism is bigger than just about anything and everything, but I don't believe there's anything Vinny can do or say right now that is going to change behaviors. Like I just don't. Like be consistent, but it should never trump what the team and what the team has their focus on. And I think at the end of the day, too, if you're gonna bring all this shithousery nature to your game, one thing I've never seen guys like Jamie Vardy or Dibu Martinez do is play the victim. I've just never really seen it. I understand racist remarks and getting upset and letting that kind of be the motivation for how you act at times, but it shouldn't be the excuse always. Like there should be some ownership in how he acts and when he gets treated the way that he does. And I can confidently say it isn't always racism. It isn't always he's not always getting jeered by fans because of the fact that he's dark skinned. Like that's just not always it. Sometimes people just hate him because of how he is, how he plays. I think back to Munich versus Madrid last season, and you remember when Kimmich went to go grab the ball, give it to Vinny. Vinny kind of like grabbed it and let it down again, and like he's just fucking with him. I'm like, dude, that shit right there is a perfect example, right? Is that like those antics after a while as a teammate, I was like, all right, dude, can you just play ball? Like the best players in the world, just shut the fuck up and play ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to boil it down to like just that. Like he should be outspoken on certain issues, but nothing should trump the team. And it's starting to feel like slowly it's wearing on some of the bigger personalities.
And I definitely I get 100% what you're talking about. And I kind of talked about this in last episode as well, where I was like, I have no problem where players speak on issues. Like I'm not one of those guys that say shut up and dribble or stop complaining. You're getting paid to play. You're getting paid $1 million to play a game. You should be grateful anything like that. My thing is that obviously if you're gonna speak on a matter, be informative, know what you're talking about, and not look like you're just a kid trying to have a temper tantrum, which is the
Yep.
problem is that I feel like he tends to really be around that line, right? Like he flirts with that line a lot where he clearly stands for something which is clear. Like it's unacceptable, like especially because this has been an issue. Racism in football has been going on for many times. We've seen it for eras and eras. Obviously I remember when Donny Alves, when fans would throw bananas at him, at matches. And same thing. I mean, a few years ago happened in Porto, in a Porto
Yep.
match. Porto fans and a Porto
Mm-hmm.
player left the field because of what happened. So it's always been a recurring thing. It's happened multiple times, and I think Vinicius, who received a lot of it too. I know from the times of Atletico Madrid fans hanging a dummy of Vinicius and all those things. So I understand that it comes from a place that I know for a fact it's real, but it is the victim stuff that definitely hurts his part. And I think that that's kind of what was the downfall for like Colin Kaepernick, right? Like, with me was just the point where it became where you're crying wolf, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And I hope that doesn't happen for Vinny, because now I haven't heard anything from Colin Kaepernick since then. So I don't know. Like now everyone's wondering whether or not were you just speaking on a matter to gain attention, or did this really matter to you?
Yeah.
And so I don't want that to happen for Vinny. So I don't want Vinny all of a sudden gets sold to Saudi Arabia and then he stops talking about racism in football. That's the part that I'm gonna be like, so you were just full of shit the whole time. And
Yeah.
that's what's gonna hurt me at least. But I do think that there's a lot of fabrication rumors.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it. The him and Mbappe aren't getting along because Mbappe and Vinicius wants to be the guy, and Mbappe, I don't know if that. I don't think that's true at all. I see how they play, and I think that they're still trying to figure out their play style. Until and once again, I keep saying it. Once Mbappe realizes that he needs to just watch Benzema films and be like, "Oh, that's what I got to play." It,
I just don't think he's him. That's the only thing. Is that like
it's the
I
worst
just
feeling because I know it's not. I know it's not.
yeah. Yeah, I just don't think he's a nine. He's not a striker. He's never going to be like someone who's clinical that you could just count on in front of net. He'll score goals. Like, don't get me wrong. Put him as the nine. He'll score goals. But like you saw against Espanyol today, he'll also miss a bunch. He'll miss a bunch of good opportunities that I feel like.
And I mean, his only goal was a pen.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Three of his 4 goals in La Liga are pens.
yeah,
So it's just like it's one of those things where I understand the frustration. And look, I don't think this is done. I think we're actually going to see we haven't gotten to the tipping point yet. I think the rumors might be fabricated or exaggerated to an extent, but I do believe that Mbappe is a person who feels entitled to a point where any team he goes on is eventually his team. And I think that right now, this is Vinny's team. Like this is Vinicius Junior's team. He has of all the attackers, he has the most seniority. Almost all players, really. He came there when he was very young. He's grown up at Real Madrid. He was there before Jude. He was there before technically Rodrigo. He was there before Mbappe. Like he's got the seniority and he knows what it takes to win trophies there. But at the end of the day, like I think he feels like Mbappe feels like, I mean, that's cool, bro, but I'm better. And I think at some point Mbappe's going to say, I deserve to be on that left wing. I'm a more consistent threat. I am going to be the guy who holds it down for us like Ronaldo used to. And then at some point, Madrid will have to figure out whether or not Vinny is okay with moving to the right or potentially shipping him out for a big fee. And I don't think it would be Saudi. I think it would be like the Premier League or something along those lines. But if that, can you imagine like Manchester City with Vinicius Junior?
I don't know. EA Sports FC sure likes to send Rodrigo over there. Um, I, I
Yeah,
I think that that's where if Vinny does get to his breaking point, I think there's going to be a moment where Real Madrid, and I'm not saying Vinicius or Mbappe, but when Real Madrid, if this experiment doesn't work out, and right now it's kind of hard to say that it's not working out because obviously they're still getting points, right? Even though there's like a lot of frustrating draws, which I mean, once again, it's very on par to what Real Madrid does. They always struggle early. Last year they were struggling early in the season, and then obviously the end result is the same thing happens whenever I play EA Sports FC. We start the season rough and then somehow we win in trouble, even though that has never happened yet in Real Madrid's history. But like and for people getting mad at me, oh, you of course you play with Real Madrid and EA Sports FC. As a matter of fact, I don't start with them. I start with the Dynamo, and then like by 2035, I now Real Madrid's kind of a weird looking team that I have to fix. So different strategy. But
yep,
anyways, but going back to this, I don't see Rodrigo leaving. And maybe that's because I'm biased there, being that he's my adopted son. But I see his commitment to the club, and like to me in my eyes, he's the only one that I see that's trying to make this work. Cause you see him move central when he sees both Vinicius and Mbappe for some reason on the left wing for no apparent reason. He's the one that goes up front. He's the one that hovers around trying to be at least available in case of a set piece that a cross happens.
yep,
Or you see him trying to make plays. You see him trying to get Mbappe involved. You see him trying to get Vinny involved. I mean, the goal he scored against Espanyol, that's a hard shot to make and off a volley like that. But
yep,
he did it. He always seems to be the guy that I think he wants to make this work. He wants this, because there's a chip on his shoulder, which I love. That he's like, people keep doubting me. I'm not in the Ballon d'Or race. and I'm still doing my part for the team. Like people see what I do. Hector's my adopted dad, and like
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
so. I do think that there's going to be a crossroad for Real Madrid where it's going to be either Mbappe and it's either or Vinicius, and at that point, it's just going to be who the club sees can continue what they hope for Real Madrid. Rodrigo could become eventually an afterthought, and maybe he could go somewhere where someone values him, which I can see happen. It's not the most out of realm possibility. Real Madrid has done this plenty of times. Look at Arjen Robben for prime example. Players that maybe weren't necessarily valued at Real Madrid when he was there, but then when he left, got loved. Unless you're from Mexico, um, but like I do think that there's going to be a crossroad where either Mbappe and Vinicius look at each other and be like, we got to make this work in some way. And one of them has to figure it out. And at least I'm giving props to Rodrigo because I think he's really trying.
Yeah. I just think I think when push comes to shove, I don't believe they're gonna sit down and be like, we just need to figure this out. I think that that's a sign of good collective units. And not that Madrid isn't a good collective unit, but it's different from other teams. Like other teams can be a well-drilled, good collective unit, have a good manager who has his ducks in a row with his guys, and like, they're all on the same page. They're all fighting for one thing. I think it's Real Madrid is different than any other club in the world in the sense that you have more superstars, more X factor to you, and a ton of guys who just feel like they belong there. They belong at the biggest club in the world or the most successful club in the world, and that they're not going to move aside for anybody. That they are the best at their position in the world. And I think when push comes to shove, I think somebody's going to be out. I think personally, it'll end up being wrongfully probably Rodrigo. I like you said. I actually think of the three attackers between him, Vinny, and Mbappe, he's probably the more consistent from a number of perspectives. But I have a hot take. I think he's going to end up leaving at a time when someone like Arsenal wants him the most.
Mm.
When he's kind of the missing piece. I think right now, it's if I'm Rodrigo, it's easy for me to hang back in the shadows and kind of think as a sub and think, I'm gonna let this play out. I'm just gonna see where this goes, right? I'm gonna see who's not willing to back off, whose ego wants to remain on top. And me, I just want to win. I just want to win trophies, whether it's here or elsewhere. I kind of feel like that's how Rodrigo is. He's just like a competitive player who wants to win. And I think a lot of teams, many top teams out in Europe, would heavily take him as kind of that final missing piece to take them over the top attacking wise. And I feel like Arsenal and Arteta will be that. I feel like Arteta already has him on his list. And it's just going to be a matter of time before he realizes that he either needs to move on from Trossard because of age or from Martinelli because of lack of form. And Rodrigo will be there waiting in the wings, waiting to get called upon. So yeah, I think that there's a real world opportunity where that happens, and they try to keep Vinny and Mbappe, just due to the sheer impact they have individually. But I still don't think it'll fix the problem. Like at some point, Vinny or Mbappe will have to move aside, and someone will have to play striker, someone will have to play left wing, or be okay with playing on the right. I just don't think they'll do it.
Yeah, and I think kind of how you mentioned that the potential
Yeah.
of Rodrigo leaving, which I think it is very likely that it could happen that it is Rodrigo, and everyone keeps saying that it's going to be Rodrigo. And I mean, it's crazy to think these guys are so young, but they have accomplished a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In such an early career, and I think they're like with Vinny, there's just Vinny gets all the pressure. All the pressure gets thrown to Vinny. Like Rodrigo, he gets the luxury of being, having all the success that Vinny also has. But at the same time, he doesn't get the pressure that Vinny gets. All eyes are on Vinny. All eyes are Vinny when he goes to play for Brazil, and now Brazil is becoming a huge dumpster fire right now.
Yep.
Um, and I think that since the Champions League, it's just been more and more things have been piling on by Vinny. I don't think that the Copa America helped at all for Vinny because it just now everybody's questioning how good is Brazil? Is Brazil even going to be in the World Cup? This is the worst Brazil we've seen in years. All the
Mm-hmm.
things have been said, and the pressure goes back to him. Why is Vinny focused on putting extensions on his head instead of playing ball? Why is Vinny over here talking about racism when he's clearly not he's fighting for his winger position right now with Mbappe. And those are the things why is Vinny even talking about Spain shouldn't host the World Cup? Like, you should be worried about qualifying for the 23rd World Cup. Those are the things that are getting thrown at him, and it gets just piles on and piles on and piles on. And I think that Vinny eventually is going to have a breaking point, and I don't know when it's going to happen, but yeah. Do I think he's the distraction? I don't think so. I think once again, it's just fabrication from people just putting it on him. It's just the things that he does that people want. Like, I mean, last year people were calling everyone always calls Vinny a distraction. It's happened last year. Dead ass my brother was like, I'd rather have Brahim Diaz than Vinicius Junior on the wing because Vinny is a distraction. And I remember just looking at him, I'm like, just tell me you don't like black people.
Bro, I also like that. That's probably the dumbest shit you said. I will say this, like, I think there's an easy way. The reason it wasn't as loud last season is because one thing we know, right? Winning cures everything. It cures everything. Like, if you win, and it doesn't matter how you win, right? Because even last year, I will say comprehensively, like City were a better side when they went down to Real Madrid in the Champions League through and through. They were the best team in the world. They still are. But, the Real Madrid have more X factor per player on their roster than any team globally, period. And that's what gets them over the line in big matches like that is the individual quality and the talent. But with talent comes ego. And as long as you're winning, none of that other
Matters.
distraction shit really happens. It's just with when you win everything and then you add a world beater piece, right? Literally probably the best individual player in the world at the moment. When you add that to the mix, the expectation grows even higher. And when you're not meeting the expectation, it's really easy for all of these rumors to feel like they're coming out of the woodwork. Like, since when is being a distraction? Why does he have to appease Mbappe? Why is Rodrigo going to get left out? Like, all of these things can be cured by winning. It's just a matter of how long it'll take Real Madrid to get there.
Yeah, and I think eventually it's gonna happen. Also, by the way, my brother is not racist. He literally has just terrible ball IQ. That's all
Yeah,
it is. That's all it is. I love my brother. I love him like a brother. It's fine.
that's funny.
Not racist. I can confirm my brother not racist. Uh, but yeah, no, I think eventually it's gonna work out. Same thing that happened last year with Bellingham. Everyone's like, "Oh, is it really gonna work out?" And then Bellingham becomes a goal scorer. And obviously we know how that season turned out. Even I mean, last year I was literally complaining about the formation. I was like, I don't like this 4-4-2 diamond. I
Yeah.
mean, eventually they moved to a 4-3-3. I mean, eventually they moved back to it. But I'm just saying, this is like on point Real Madrid. Real Madrid always starts slow. They just do this. I mean, they haven't received a loss yet, knock on wood. Especially as, we got the Madrid derby coming up. And obviously I don't want to lose that because Spencer and me and Edward's stupid jersey. Well, now it's a jersey bet between me, Edward, and Spencer, since we're not doing the singing bet anymore,
Fair.
for copyright issues. But don't worry, Edward will still sing at the end of the year episode. But I think eventually things will start clicking from Real Madrid. Like I said, right now it's just trying to fix the details. I mean, people were shitting on the midfield, people are shitting on the attack. Like, out of nowhere, all of a sudden Valverde is not a great midfielder. All of a sudden, Shishami is not a great six. All of a sudden, oh man, this team looks lost without Tony Cruz. Like, all of a sudden this is happening. But then let's go by January. Let's see how this team looks. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, this is the best team in the world. It's undeniable. Kind of these are just emotions that Real Madrid fans go through.
Yeah.
It's the most. It's like copy and paste. It never fails. I've seen it too many times. This is where I'm like when I look at Edward and I look at you, Jose, and I know that you guys can't stand certain Madridistas, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. Especially when I got attacked for the Spanish Super Cup not being treble worthy, and everyone all of a sudden called me a Barca fan.
Look, man, for those who don't know, like this is what I can't stand about this argument. It's like if you don't blindly support either way of this insane, the greatest rivalry in the history of football, then like you're a fan of the other team. No, man, at the end of the day, if you think that, you haven't been around long enough. You're 15, you just started watching football. And, if you are, cool. But at the end of the day, real Madrid fans know, and I say real as in real, not Real, but real Real Madrid fans and real Barcelona fans know that we need each other. The only way that this rivalry continues to be the pinnacle of football is if both teams are good. It doesn't do anybody any good for either team to be bad, right? So the years where Barca was down, I mean, I honestly, I don't even think I had as much shit talk from Madrid fans as I normally do in the seasons where we're good. Like, it's just one of those things where it feels stale. It doesn't bring fans to the table like a Clasico where both sides are very strong, two of the best teams in the world, and it's straight Saturday Night Lights for 2 hours. Like, that's what you want. You want those moments. You don't want. I don't care about steamrolling Real Madrid. The games where we have, right, like the 5-0s or whatever, like, they're fun in the moment, but like after that, it's like, cool. Now let's go win the next one. I want El Clasico to continuously be a match that we all look forward to, all mark on our calendars, and that in order for that to happen, both sides have to be good. So we real
Exactly.
fans know on both sides that we want that to be the case.
And I think kind of like how me and Edward always talk about it. I always say plenty of times, man, Batman needs his Robin. I mean,
Yes,
not Batman needs his Robin. Batman needs his Joker. Like,
correct.
I can't, just like Joker can't cause mayhem without Batman stopping him. This is why Batman doesn't never kills the Joker, right? Because he needs the Joker. Like, he can't, his life isn't fulfilled unless the Joker's out there roaming the streets causing chaos. Like, that's how this relationship is with Barcelona and Real Madrid. Also, if this rivalry isn't great, it's hard to defend La Liga. It just is.
Yep.
And I've told people plenty of times, man, you guys like diss La Liga as much as you want, but until you see what it's like to go against Espanyol, which is an annoying team, I can't. I hate that they got promoted because they're one of the most annoying teams in La Liga because they're that team that ruins your record. Getafe is one of those teams that like somehow ruin that. That's the match that ruins your chances of winning the La Liga that year. There's always some weird mid-table team that got the better of you, and now when you're sitting in second place, you just go back at that game. If we just got those 3 points, we wouldn't be in this situation. Because
Yep.
there's been times where Real Madrid has won both El Clásicos and still finished in second. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's just how crazy La Liga can be. Like, you don't have to win the rivalry games. It's great. You get bragging rights, but then you don't win the most important thing, which is winning La Liga.
Yeah.
And
Bro, he Girona swept us last season as Barcelona, and we still finished ahead of them in the table.
that's exactly what it is, man. It's just
Yeah.
insane. But exactly, man. I once again to like kind of wrap this all up in a pretty bow for Vinny. I think winning is going to help. I think Vinny's always going to do Vinny things. He's always going to do his antics. He's going to go dress up the wazoo for the fashion, which I mean, all players do this. Like, he's not doing anything that anybody else is doing,
No.
but it's when they're not performing is when there's concerns. And weirdly enough, he's still performing. Like, he's still scoring goals. He's still got an amazing assist to Rodrigo. Like, he's still playing ball. Yes, he has his antics. He does the time wasting. Um, but that's what is it, he's gonna do those things. And I think it's not Vinny if he's not playing like that. But once Real Madrid starts winning, people are gonna like, oh, stop, no one's gonna start saying Brahim Diaz should be starting over Vinicius Junior. That's what's
Big
gonna
facts.
happen.
Big facts.